Assembly Member McCartney. Start with Mayor Pipe and then move to the other two guests if I can. My questions were about the 4 pilots, because 2 of them, Enfield and Haringey, I represent, so we have great concerns about it. And I was quite shocked to hear that you view this as just a test of DWP's own systems as opposed to a true pilot. But my question is around the pilot, I believe, is to last approximately 6 months, and lessons are supposed to be learnt before it is rolled out. But in the meantime, I mean, is it your belief that those councils should be supported and be compensated? Because I know Haringey, for example, is so concerned about this that they're thinking of making up the difference with the housing benefit, and that would cost, I believe, approximately £7 million off their already stretched and cut budget. Is that something that you think the DWP should be reimbursing these pilot boroughs for?
Yes, absolutely, and it's something that we've argued for. I mean, a kind of an obvious impact on those boroughs is that their own placing their own residents in, say, temporary accommodation, they're capped at 26,000. Yeah. Placing their own residents, but obviously those boroughs are already carrying Haringey and Enfield, huge recipients from elsewhere in London, and they have no such cap on what they can pay for those rents. So it hugely disadvantages those 4 boroughs. But of course now it's only a 3-month pilot, because of course they've brought the rollout through to July. And as I say, it's not just me that thinks it's a test of the system, not the impact on people. It's DWP themselves. It's not a pilot. They've never pretended it's a pilot or about impact on the population. It's purely a test of systems in a single office.
Okay. Can I also ask then that one of the things I'm hearing is that I've talked to someone who's a governor at a Kensington and Chelsea school who says that their role is falling. They're being told that families are about to leave. And I know from being particularly in Enfield that we have such a school shortage place, and when we have so many people now coming in with school-aged children, that it's already exacerbating the situation. Can I ask, is London Council or is anyone looking at the cost of these extra services and actually perhaps comparing the cost of the savings from welfare reform to what I assume may well be a greater cost of having to provide infrastructure elsewhere?
Yes, there's a lot of information sharing going on, a lot of information gathering by London councils, but it's a bit, we'll go back to the very beginning of this session, it's very after the fact, and it's not particularly systemic because of the way these things are happening. It's, you know, the falling rolls in some areas, the pressure growing in other areas as rolls are rising, where we're measuring the effects, but being able to predict and accurately describe the effects. We're just following numbers.
So is that something that you think the Mayor could look at? Because it's not just education, it's health services, and we're seeing reconfiguration of hospitals at the moment without seemingly taking into account population moves.
I mean, certainly it's something that London councils can provide to the Mayor, again, enable the Mayor to make the case to, hopefully, to the government on behalf of Londoners. Okay.
And can I also ask Kate and Jeff, I know one of the things, and in fact I have a press release from Haringey Citizens Advice Bureau, say they were gearing up for a dramatic increase in people seeking advice. And Kate, you said earlier about the lack of assistance to people with the legal aid changes, but also I know that your organisation is stretched to the limit at the moment. Just where are people going to get advice from?
I mean, I think it is really difficult. Citizens Advice are going to see a huge influx of clients without a huge increase of resources to match that. I guess the other thing, when we did a report on this in November, looking at the kind of early impacts of changes, and we were talking to some advice agencies about what they were seeing, and at that point advice agencies were still kind of dealing with the transfer of people onto employment support allowance, which is kind of the challenges with ATOS, high rate of appeals being turned over, and that's kind of been an ongoing issue even before we start those changes. So when that was kind of back in October, November, we were saying to advice agencies, what's top of your list? At that point, it wasn't the benefit cap yet, it wasn't the bedroom tax, it wasn't universal credit, it was still dealing with the changes to disability benefits. So I think we're kind of getting, it's a sort of cumulative impact, if you like, and it's very difficult to know how advice agencies can cope.
Yes, well, we get that rich menu of issues coming in. All of those come in. I understand from our stats people that the most recent figures are showing sharp increases in housing benefit and eligible rent issues, local housing allowance issues and also discretionary housing payments inquiries, which is what you'd expect. There is a difference, I think, although they're closely related, a difference here between the housing benefit cuts and the benefit cap.
Yeah.
The benefit cap manifests itself first through housing benefit, of course, but the housing benefit cuts affect people both in and out of work, whereas the benefit cap is aimed at people who are out of work. There used to be a benefit cap. It was called wage stop, and it was abolished in 1975. And the reason it was abolished was because of the development of the in-work benefits, in-work housing benefit and rate rebates as they were, and family income supplements, what is now working tax credit. And it became clear that if you take into account the benefits people can claim when they're in work, that this problem of perceived problem of people being better off out of work disappears. So logically, we've argued that you should take out of the benefit cap those benefits which are available in similar terms for people in and out of work, like housing benefit, like child benefit, and child tax credits. And if you did that, there'd be hardly anybody, if anybody, left. So we think this is just a completely misconceived policy, and the number of people affected by the benefit cap is not going to be huge compared to the number of people affected by the mainstream housing benefit cuts. But for those people who are affected by it with high housing costs and or several children, it's going to hit them very hard indeed, and of course they're going to be coming into bureaus, and we're going to be arguing trying to get them discretionary housing payments.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask one final question of Mayor Pipe, and that's, we've had lots of reports about councils looking outside the M25 and to farther parts. Do you know at the moment how many boroughs are looking to move people outside London?
Again, it's retrospective, so we can certainly have figures for placements, particularly in temporary accommodation, that boroughs have made, and that clearly shows some boroughs, like my own, who have placed, who overwhelmingly they're placed within our own borough in the low tens in a quarter, in a 3-month period, that will have been located in immediately adjacent boroughs. Compared in the same quarter, boroughs who have exported hundreds to northeastern boroughs. So the effect is very, very uneven. I'd probably make that comment more as the Mayor of Hackney than Chair of London Councils, I should say.
Okay. I think it would be useful, Chair, if we can get some of that evidence later.
Yes, I'll ask our guests to provide whatever they want to at the end of the session.